Evening Guardians. I have a topic that I've been kind of trying to wrap my head around, trying to figure out like how I want to go about talking about it. And it's the community's toxicity, which I haven't really got to fully experience yet. Short of, I'll queue up for a dungeon, and we'll get in, and it'll be like at tier three, maybe tier four, and some of the people I'm with will just not know anything about the dungeon, proceed to just kind of die, and then the other guy leaves to orbit, and then it's like the run's done. Um, so not everything yet, but I'm starting to get an idea of what people are doing. I think like in 2025, um, people are. I might be wrong here. This might be from my WoW experience, but people are often chasing skill parity. And what that means is basically they want to play with people who are at their skill level and maybe even a little bit better. And the minute that somebody who's unskilled comes in, to their dungeon or their raid, you take it upon yourselves to point out to them that they are not good. Um, I think that in 2025, it's just like objectively disrespectful to be bad at video games. As far as the players that have been here, uh, playing Destiny 2 are. Before, I get demolished in the comments, just hear me out. Most of you who watch this or even play the game, regardless of your hours, whether it be hundreds, 1,000, or 10,000 hours, you all have experienced players. Someone has always been more seasoned than yourself at some point in your Destiny career, and have talked down to you or trash talked you or hazed you. Um, like going through the tunnel and whisper of the worm, and then they tell you to go forward, and then the walls push you off, and then everyone laughs. That's hazing more than, it's kind of like a rite of passage. Like that to me is different, but I think that line gets skewed. That's kind of a spoiler. I've been doing Whisper of the Worm, for my new player experience series, but I've been doing that. It's been fun learning it. Um, the point is that you've been told by somebody that you're dog water, or you've been the carry of a group. No matter who you are, at some point in your career you've been the carry, and you've been on the receiving end of the toxicity. Now some of it I think kind of gets blown out of proportion. Like if people like kill you in between bosses with like hidden stuff that you haven't experienced, like that's one thing. It's really for a laugh. Take your licks because eventually you'll probably dish them out to somebody else. But I think the difference is when people continue to reciprocate the toxicity side of it. I suffered, therefore those who come after me should also suffer. It creates like this long line of like, it sounds weird to say like generational toxicity, but that's exactly what it is. Like there's different generations of guardians that come to play, and then there's the old cats who've been here since the beginning. And those of you who see it or happen to see it and just say nothing and let it happen, like in my opinion, if you aren't happy with the state of the player base, you are just as responsible by not speaking up or calling out that behavior as it happens. To me, it's like it's kind of a hard pill to swallow, but inaction in that case is no different from being the perpetrator in my eyes. That's just that's just how I see it. Tell me in the comments how you feel about it. But what this actually brings me to is this story that I was told at a younger age, and it's called like the story or the anecdote of five monkeys. And basically, what happens is they have five monkeys in a cage. There's a ladder, and on top of the ladder, there's bananas. Uh, Obviously, monkeys want their bananas, so they start to go up the ladder, and the second that they do, everybody is drenched in ice cold water, right? So every time any monkey goes up that ladder, drenched in ice cold water. Pretty soon they figure out just don't climb the ladder and we won't get sprayed with water. And anytime someone did, they kind of would start to self police themselves, meaning someone tries to climb it, they beat the shit out of that guy and say no. And then what they did is they started removing and replacing one of the five monkeys with a new one. And the new monkey shows up and he's like, I want to go up the ladder and get those bananas. And the other monkeys immediately pull him off the ladder, beat the shit out of him to where he learns that you can't climb that ladder. And the scientists continue to do this, right? They continue to have this experiment going, and then they replace the old monkeys with the new ones, the old ones with the new ones. And eventually, what happens is they have an entirely different group of monkeys than the first five, who have never experienced the ramifications of going to the top of the ladder, because they've individually policed their own people to prevent them from going up there. None of them even know what happens if they do. They just know that they shouldn't. And it's something that eventually happens. And the reason I bring that up is because what people need to understand is that the people that were toxic to you when you first started, or were mean, or aggressive, in some manner, they might not even play this game anymore. Right? Like, I mean, obviously with the player count going down, as I've read, because I've been watching videos of Cross and Profane and Mave, and I'm not going to list all of them, but the guys, the content creators much bigger than myself that occupy this space. Um, and I it was kind of an interesting comparison. Like, you guys talk and complain about the toxicity of it, and then it's like there's a wheel here that could be broken, and all you need to do is break it. And yet you complain about it, people complain about it, but don't do nothing about it. Now, I'm not saying all of you. Some of you may do stuff about it, and that's great. And don't be wrong, it's frustrating to have a new player who doesn't know a dungeon in your group kind of ruin it for everybody else. So like it was interesting to me. The other thing that was like kind of on my mind, right, is I did a grandmaster difficulty activity and I got a little achievement from Steam. And I don't know if this is correct, but it said only 7.6% of players have achieved that achievement. And it makes me wonder, like, so what? 92.4% of the player base is, sorry, my math's probably wrong, but whatever. Titan main. 92.4% of the player doesn't even do grandmaster activities. So like, where do they stop? Is it at Nightfalls, which I've been doing a little bit too? Which is, it's something that's just kind of like, you know interesting for me to kind of go over. And yeah, it's just something that's interesting to go over. Um, Now, having said that, new lights, we gotta talk. I come from a highly competitive environment in WoW. I stood with the top 1% of the player base. Um, if your ass is signing up for a dungeon or trying to do a dungeon you've never done before, and you don't look up a video, like a 5 to 10 minute video on how to do it, like actually fuck off. Uh, here's the reason why. Maybe a hot take to say, but that to me is equivalent, like riding a bike and then shoving a branch in between your front spokes, causing yourself harm, and blaming the goddamn tree for why it happened. Like, it's 2025. There is no reason why you can't spare 10 minutes out of your goddamn day to make the fire team's journey just a little bit easier. If it's your first time, you're already going to be the carry. It doesn't matter how many videos you've watched. You have to do the mechanics to learn it. The least you could do was be as less of a burden as possible, soak up the information, and accept the fact that you're not going to be top damage. You're just not. On any boss, you're probably going to be the most deaths. Google the thing that you need to Google in order to do the activity you want to do. If you're randomly joining raids with no experience and no anything, and you don't even look up a video, you're actually the catalyst to the toxicity that exists inside this game. And then for the next however long the event is, the next 2 to 5 players have to first make up for, if the group even stays together, make up for what you don't bring. And it's just like, that's insane to me. And now maybe that's a hot take because I come from another competitive community where you can't just show up and do a boss on the hardest difficulty and expect to succeed. It's just not how it works. Everyone has to do their part. I'm a new light. I've been playing this game about a week. And as I'm making this video, I haven't raided anything yet. I've done some dungeons. I watched a quick video on how to do like Whisper of the Worm, right? And like, all right, I was like, okay, got it, cool. And then proceeded to die on the jump puzzles. I'll be honest with you, I am not good at them. I tried to find an eager edge sword to kind of help. I was like, oh, that'll fix like literally all my problems. No, sir. I didn't actually get an eager edge sword yet. Still looking for one. I ended up getting a mountaintop and using that to explode myself farther across the map rather than doing the jump puzzles. I got a pretty good system. Um, anyway, it's just like if you're a new light surrounded by veterans, like in my opinion, do your part and you're not going to do the most damage, but don't be a hindrance. And then if you do the most damage or you have the most kills, like good on you. Flex that stuff. People say self praise is no praise. Nah, fuck that. Self praise is the best praise because if I'm going to smoke you when you're an experienced guardian and I'm new, I'm going to point that shit out. Anyway, jokes aside, people complain about how toxic the community is, and it may be, you know, what and it may be toxic, but what have you done to change that? If your answer is truthfully nothing, then you're no better than the last guy who was toxic to you. Like break the goddamn wheel, right? Like that's what we should be doing. um, and to the content creators out here who occupy the space. I like actually, if any of you ever see this, which you probably won't, but I challenge you as nobody with no experience, reach out to me. Show me why you love or loved this game and why it's special to you. And maybe on one of your, whether it be streams or videos, why don't you bring a new player along to whatever it is you're doing. It doesn't matter if it's PvP, a raid, a dungeon. Bring a new player. Find somebody who applied, who has no business being there or just doesn't have any experience, and bring them along. Talk with them. See what's going on. See how they're doing. Try to like, if you can't create the environment you want to exist in, how can you harp against the players who like keep it toxic? If you're not making a difference, you're like, how I was brought up is if you're not part of the resolution, guess what? You're part of the problem. Anyway, that's it. I'll attach some amount of gameplay footage of me probably failing something miserably. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Like and subscribe, help the algorithm. Peace. Unfortunately, the footage I showed you, we actually failed and had to go back to orbit. One of the other players, I think his name was Orange, he quit, which is fine. I had accidentally had two special ammo weapons and one heavy, so I didn't have a primary. So it made it a little bit hard to generate ammo, but we were doing okay. But I was getting I guess part of me was getting frustrated at the situation because these guys initially wanted to do Grandmaster. Again, just random pug thing. But when they were failing the puzzle, myself included, I'm not much better. Um, I was like, hey, let's drop it down one tier and then learn it and then we'll run it back. And they're like, okay, cool. And we drop it down and it became evident very quickly that they had no idea what was going on. This is one of those cases where I watched a video. I had an understanding of what was going on. It took about, there's like videos as short as like 3 minutes to give you a guide on this stuff. Not to mention the video I watched, there was another boss that we just skipped because we do it in the portal according to what the guy said. But neither of them knew what they were doing. They were dying constantly, as you can see in the footage, just constantly. Like we were missing DPS phases because of it, because I had to revive them, or I had to survive long enough to, for them to res. So this is that example of players. Now, granted, it's their time. If they want to do that and just kind of learn as they go amongst buddies, that's great. Maybe a little warning ahead of time, like, hey, we don't know anything about what's going on, would have been great. I got a little frustrated by it, but I stuck with it. We ended up getting a little bit of loot. So